Hey everybody, I'm Matt Williamson and you're watching Pop Goes the 60s. I wanted to do just a quick recap of my Jefferson Airplane series. It went over really well and I had so much support from you, some great comments I'm going to read to you in a minute. And I'm really, one of the great things about this channel is the interaction between all the people that are watching it and learning from it. And I got a great comment from a guy named Dave Fenwick, and he said, I'm 53, and of everything I've seen on YouTube, this is the most comprehensive, constructive, thorough, and detailed review of anything I've seen. Thank you for this, and it's sincerely appreciated. I'm attempting to learn as much as I can about the period, and this is extremely well done and helpful, intellectually superb, and as complete as anyone could have produced. Thank you. So Dave, I thank you. That's really high praise. And one thing I do is I'm creating these with the intent of reaching people that want to learn about not just the music, but a little bit of the era surrounding it. And one of the things that when things started really making a lot more sense to me is when I took a wider approach, understanding not just the music, but the time surrounding it. So I try to always give some of that perspective in my longer series. And I think I was able to do that with the airplane a bit. Let me read you another comment. This one was a fun one from Brandon S. Brandon said, this entire video series was like having a really good but strange dream finally explained. So I thought that was funny, and I think I'm going to use that at some point, Brandon. So thank you for that comment. One of the things I did in this video, or like a lot of my videos, I have to leave some stuff on the cutting room floor. There are many details that I don't include and many trivial things that sometimes I'll leave them out because it just bogs down the story and doesn't keep the flow going. And I think that if you add too many details in a video like this, it just maybe lags, gets a little bit boring. Now, this book, in book form, it's not the case. Jeff Tamarkin, who wrote God of Revolution, all those details and more are in here. And when we're reading a book, that can be weaved in so much more easily. And I highly recommend this book. In fact, Mr. Tamarkin contacted me after seeing the video series, and here's what he said. He said, so thanks so much for the kind words about my airplane bio. It was truly a labor of love. Enjoy your history of the band. Great job. Well, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. And like I said, I couldn't have done the video series as well without this as a resource. So those of you who are part of my Patreon supporters, these are the type of things I purchase with the Patreon money that I get. I increase my research materials, and books are the best way to do it. I would suggest still buying books and get the hard copies because you don't need electricity to read them. It's nice to read on the beach. Some of the details I left out, I'm just going to go through a couple here, and just so you know, actually what's in this book as well, if you want to dive in deeper. I had mentioned that when Grace Slick joined the band, she was bought out of her Great Society contract for about $750. Well, Signe, when she was fired, I think they paid her a substantial sum of money because obviously the airplane, she was a charter member, and they had much more value, that recording contract. I think that was a high four figures or low five-figure buyout. So she did okay that way, unfortunately. And she stayed out of the business. She raised her family and watched Jefferson Airplane from afar, I guess. Another thing that I wanted to mention that I forgot to mention in the series was that the album Surrealistic Pillow, the pink cover, which was designed by Marty Balin, was originally intended to be blue. And for some reason it wound up pink. I don't know if that was a printing error or what, but that was supposed to be blue. But it's so iconic now as pink. How could it be blue, right? Another thing I wanted to mention, I did make one fairly big mistake. The photograph on the cover art of Crown of Creation, that album, I had mentioned that the atomic bomb on there was a Hiroshima photograph. That is not true. There aren't photos of that so far as anybody knows. That was a photograph that was taken here in the States of some tests. That was by the courtesy of the U.S. Air Force. So I got that one wrong. And another one of the stories that you probably have heard, I left this on the cutting room floor as well, was the story when Grace Slick was invited to the White House inadvertently by Tricia Nixon. Now, this happened because her maiden name was Wing, and she went to Finch College, as did Tricia Nixon. So several graduating classes were invited to the White House for some tea party or something, and somehow Grace Slick got invited due to her maiden name, apparently. So she figured, well, who can I show up that would be the most offensive? And she shows up with Abby Hoffman. So they stopped them at the door and they didn't get in, and it was kind of a bit of a farce. But they were going to dose Richard Nixon, but he wasn't even there. So that story has often been told. Probably many of you have heard it, maybe some of you haven't, but that one didn't make the video, unfortunately. Another one that I wanted to mention that's also kind of funny, the album Baron von Tolbooth and the Chrome Nun, that's a Paul Kantner, Grace Slick, David Freiberg album, came out in 1973, I believe. Those nicknames came from David Crosby. So David Crosby always referred to Paul Kantner as Baron von Tolbooth. He was very German, and he acquired that nickname. And, well, the Chrome Nun, that fits Grace Slick. Unfortunately, David Freiberg was persona non grata on that album cover. I don't know what David Crosby called him. And finally, I got a little bit of questions about my pronunciation of the manager, Matthew Cates. The reason I pronounce it Cates, and that name is normally pronounced Katz, and that's how I pronounced it until I read this book. Mr. Tamarkin went to great lengths to suggest that Mr. Cates pronounced it Cates. Again, Cates was an odd guy. He was a bit of a dandy, so that's why I pronounced it that way. I was going off the book here, so many of you had made comments about that. The people that support me on Patreon enjoyed MP3 download of an unreleased song by Jefferson Airplane, a song called Frozen Noses. It's a Grace Slick song. So that's just an example of some of the things that you get from being a part of my Patreon supporters. And I just uploaded a Beatles screensaver as well. So there's things I'll be uploading occasionally. And the big thing are the raffles for my albums that never were. I just raffled 2 off to 2 guys, and those were mailed out, and they should have them by now. And I want to say thank you to everybody who has supported me on Patreon. It's been a very good response, and I've got plenty more video series like Jefferson Airplane coming. So I'm looking forward to seeing more people join Patreon, and I'm looking forward to giving you more high-quality content. Now, the other reason I wanted to do this quick video is that I got a busy month coming up. Can you believe we're in May already here? And I'm getting married at the end of this month. So as you might imagine, a lot of T's to cross and I's to dot here. We're having people over, and I'm still working on the house, getting it ready. I moved in here in, I think, late September, October, so there was work to be done, and I broke my foot 8 weeks ago, so that slowed me down quite a bit. And but things are getting done, and I do have a couple videos in the can, so I'm not gonna slow down the videos, but there might be a slowdown for a few days there during the wedding, but just so you're forewarned. The other thing I'd like to try to do, and this will probably happen right after the wedding, I'd like to do a live stream and invite my Patreon supporters to engage with me in that. So that's one thing that you can look forward to. I'm not going to tell you the bands I'm working on quite yet because I've still got a bit to do, but I'm excited to do. I got another biggie coming in the summer. And biggie, I mean multi-part video series. And so I guess that's the update I wanted to give you, and I'm looking forward to getting married and to getting back in the chair here at Pop Goes the 60s, and I'm going to go get ready to get some painting done tomorrow. So the bathroom's got to be painted, so I will see you here very soon on Pop Goes the 60s.